We're now in paragraph F, Code of Federal Regulations 21807.65. Excludes and exempts from FDA regulation persons who manufacture, prepare, propagate, compound, or process devices solely for use in research. Aren't you trying to see if this isn't going to grow hair back on your head? You're researchers. Research, teaching, or analysis, and do not introduce such devices into commercial distribution. And this and the freedom of speech, my First Amendment rights, are the only reasons that I'm able to stand in front of you today and give you this information that I feel must be the most valuable information you've heard in this lifetime. Because if you do want your family to live, if you do want your children, your friends to be healthy, not sickly and weak, do this. It does work. This is not my opinion. It was not my invention. It was invented by a medical doctor at Albert Einstein College of Medicine. I am just the guy that's pulled it out of obscurity, tried to get it to you, although people have gone into libraries with razor blades and cut this paper that was presented at the Joint Conference on Combination Therapies. They've cut these out of the journals, out of the proceedings. Ed Evans, whom you know, when he was still alive, and I searched 32,000 computer papers, CompuServe, the other networks, using the descriptors electrification, electroporation, blood, AIDS, HIV. Not one shred of the original paper was on any network computer program anywhere. We spent quite a bit of money doing this. I can assure you that if you look for this in the legitimate, accepted, politically correct literature, you're not going to find it. But this goes on and on and on. I could keep you here all night. I could train you how to do this, but all of the information you will ever need is in your paper. We even tell you the problems, the death wish. We tell you under no circumstances whatsoever, while you are doing this for about 3 weeks, touch anything that has any garlic whatsoever. Garlic oil, garlic salt, garlic butter in your salad dressing or food, because garlic, when it gets into the blood, is a deadly poison. Did you know this? You can drink rattlesnake venom and it won't hurt you. But don't get that rattlesnake venom into a wound or a cut or an ulcer. You will die if you don't have an antivenom. Garlic has a compound called sulfone, S-U-L-F-O-N-E, hydroxyl, which passes the blood-brain barrier. That means if you rub a clove of garlic on the sole of your foot, in about 2 minutes you'll smell it on your wrist. You know this. It carries past the corpus callosum, poisons both brain hemispheres. I discovered this in the 1970s when I was personally the largest manufacturer of ethical EEG, electroencephalographic biofeedback equipment in the United States. And people would come back to a class, doctors that we were training to use this, and be clinically dead on the EEG machine. We found that that had a little garlic in their salad. It totally dissociates the left and right hemisphere. You can see this by running your electrodes frontal, up here by the third eye, to the occipital, just over this little bump on the back of your head. You want to put your money up? You'll lose. We had this investigated at a Northern California medical college. They found that garlic killed tens of thousands of brain cells, even in the small amount you got in the salad dressing. But it doesn't matter. You've got billions of trillions of cells in your brain, and people with the brain the size of a walnut, microcephalies, hydrocephalies, etc., can be mathematical geniuses, musicians, and what have you. Now, this is the most politically incorrect thing I can tell you. Most people think garlic is a health food. It isn't. The people I've gotten off of garlic because we've shown them that bullets used to be rubbed in garlic in World War I and II. They didn't have to kill anyone by hitting him in the heart. If he was just nicked, he would die. When I bought a blowgun from Jim Solomon up at the Global Sciences in Denver, he took me out in the hall and said, "Bob, if you want to kill somebody, just get a clove of garlic, push the point of your dart gun, your blowgun projectile into that, and he will die very rapidly." The CIA is trained to use this, trained to use oleander leaves, which are an alkaloid. 6 leaves will kill a human being. Trained to use water infusions of nicotine, which is another deadly poison in the blood. So we have published a list, which we don't have here tonight, of things you do not take. Beta-carotene is one of these. Vitamin A is deadly poison if the dosage is elevated. And what I'm doing here, for those of you who are researchers or health professionals, yeah, Wayne. Castor oil is a poison. I'm reading a paper called Electroporation. Thank you. A general phenomena for manipulating cells and tissues. This work was discovered just before 1993 by Dr. M.D. James C. Weaver, Harvard-MIT Division of Health Sciences and Technology, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Cambridge, 02139. And I'm reading from the Journal of Cellular Biochemistry, Book 51, page 426 to 435, 1993. And they describe in this paper, and we have a librarian here who would like to make copies of this for anyone who wants it, who doesn't believe it, who'd like to see it with his own eyes. Chairman, you want to do this? Charge him whatever the Xerox, please. I want to give you this because it describes the fact, as you can see in the summary, that if I take 1 aspirin tablet, I'm okay usually. If I take 20 to 30 aspirin tablets in the same gulp, I'm in trouble. When you put electricity into the blood and you have a polarity shift, this is called electroporation, and it's fully described in the paper, fully. There won't be any question in your mind after you read it. Those 20 or 30 aspirin that I would take because I have run this electrification might kill me. There's a doctor here in Van Nuys who calls himself an OMD who killed 2 patients, Frank Gillespie and a woman whom I may or may not have met, because he was prescribing Chinese herbs for them because they had AIDS. And he did not realize that if they were doing blood electrification, they did not need the herbs, and the herbs might become poisonous. And this is fully delineated in the paper. I see several of them around the room. Feel free to share them if you choose. The other no-no is do not use this if you're wearing a demand-type heart pacer. The electrical signal that's going through your blood, surging through your blood, can cause the heart pacer to beat at a different rate. Normally it's triggered by the very weak EKG, electrocardiograph, ECG signals. And if this, which goes at 4 hertz per second, interrupts that, you can be in trouble. If you're wearing a heart pacer, don't do it. If you're taking any garlic, don't do it. If you're on pharmaceuticals that the doctor says you have to have for high blood pressure, diabetes, micronese, diatribe, procardia, any of these things, don't do it until you're off of these medications, and then you'll get better than you can imagine getting. My blood pressure when I started this was 219 as an average over 190. My blood pressure was 219 over 190. I could not leave a doctor's office before he put a procardia under my tongue. He didn't want me to die on his doorstep or have a stroke. My blood pressure today is about 130 or 140 over a low of around 70 to 75. When I started doing this, I had what they call borderline diabetes. I was not on insulin. I was on several diuretics and diatribe, micronase, and a number of other things. My blood sugar ranged every day, even with careful diet, from about 425 to 475. After I had done this for about 3 weeks, I stopped using my blood glucose meter. My blood pressure, my blood sugar is down around 150. Well, that used to be considered normal. Now they consider 100 the low normal. but I haven't taken my blood sugar in 6 months. I feel great. My hair, after using a magnetic impulse device, the follicles were restored. I spray my head with a misting bottle, not a spray bottle, which I got at a beauty parlor for about $1.50 with silver colloids. I'm going to show you how you can make your own, because our wonderful, benevolent Food and Drug Administration has recently outlawed colloid as injunctions against 27 people who are making this medicine that has been around since the day of ancient Rome. So we're going to have to make our own. I think I'm going to have to cut this short. We can talk forever, but I want to show you something. This is a glass of water that I got out of the kitchen about the time I came in here. This is a laser light. Cost $29 at Fry's Electronics. I'm going to make sure this does not get in your eyes, so don't worry, you can look at this. This is a glass of water. Has some bubbles on the inside. I'm going to shine this laser light through the glass. Keep it above your eye level so it can't possibly harm you. And you notice that the water is fairly clear. You don't see a lot of stuff. You see a little debris floating around in this water. And I hear that you can see this pretty well in the back. And this is for the sake of the camera if he wants to zoom in. Now, I've taken a single 9-volt battery. I have put a little grain of wheat light, a lamp, in series with the battery and these 2 silver wires. You can build this entire thing with the silver for under $10. You can carry it in your shirt pocket. If you're traveling through Mexico or Egypt or the Mideast or Africa, do what I'm going to do right now. You can drink sewer water and never get sick. There is no known germ, bacteria, microbe which will survive what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to put these 2 silver wires in this glass of water. And do you have a watch on, Wayne? Give me about 3 minutes, will you, and interrupt me. This is all it takes. This is tap water. If you buy a bottle of distilled water, it's going to cost about 80 cents. This is Sparkletts, Arrowhead. The colloid that you make from that water costs 1/10 of a penny per gallon. Multiply 0.1 times 80, it comes out to 800. Okay? The water cost 800 times more than the most powerful medicine known to man, silver colloid. And in our paper, the last half of the paper is about exactly how you make it, exactly how you use it, hundreds of uses, from spraying your swamp filters in your cooling system to putting a little of it in the rinse water. You'll never carry infection on your clothes. Animals who have been given colloid will not drink drinking water. We have people who have thoroughbred cats that were spending half of their lives at the vets with runny eyes, runny nose, infections. I began giving the waitresses at the restaurant where I eat on Harbor Boulevard a little colloid. They took it home. One of them, Carla, fed it to her cats, came back in a few days. Bob, what have you done to my cat? Well, what do you mean? My cat is 13 years old. And he's jumping up on the furniture like a young kitten, and he won't drink drinking water unless I put a few teaspoons of colloid in his dish. And since then, we've run experiments where we put 2 dishes, identical, fill them from the same tap. The dogs and cats will not drink from the dish that doesn't have colloid. I think they know something.